Hi, this is Natalie Rydstrom here from sportsreview.com. The third test of the Ashes series takes place at Edgbaston between the 29th of July and August 2nd there. Here now to bring us up to speed and to discuss the betting markets available is sports writer and BMR contributor Richard Prew. Now, we've seen two tests so far, Richard. Run us through those.
Okay, well, the first test was at Cardiff about a month ago now. Australia were big favourites to win the series. The last time the teams met, they won 5-0 in Australia 18 months ago. And they were odds on for the first test, and they lost quite convincingly in 4 of the 5 days, and that was a big surprise. So England went 1-0 up. And then, having been odds on for the first test, Australia were 6-4 for the second test at Lord's in London last week. And this time they batted first, made a huge first innings score, and defeated England extremely comfortably to draw the series 1-1.
All right, well, Australia are big favourites here to win this test. Price low, 1.5 there with Ladbrokes. England are priced 5, Bet365, and the draw is 6, 888 Sport. Can England pull the upset, or are you backing Australia to win?
I think most people would see that as a big upset because of how convincingly they were beaten last time out in London. But with cricket, you have a number of variables that can really even up any contest. The first of which is the toss of the coin, where the winner of that toss decides whether to bat or bowl. And in certain conditions, for example, conditions that help bowlers, or perhaps on a pitch that suits bowlers, winning that toss can be extremely important. The weather in Birmingham at the moment is pretty mixed. The pitch looks quite favourable for bowling. And so if England do win the toss tomorrow, then odds at around 5 that are currently showing in the markets could be very big on England indeed, but with one caveat: they need to perform a lot better than they did in London. And has their confidence taken a big knock from that performance? But if you asked me which was the value of the two prices, Australia at a very short price or England at 5, then England has to be the speculative play.
Now, you said that the pitch is more sort of akin for the bowlsman. Do you have a top bowlsman in mind here?
Well, for England, the two key bowlers are James Anderson, who's the all-time England leading wicket-taker, and Stuart Broad. And Stuart Broad in the first 2 matches has taken 8 wickets, and Anderson's only taken 3. But the pitches for the first 2 games were very good for batting indeed. They were dry. There wasn't a lot in them for the bowlers. If the weather tomorrow is a bit questionable, and it looks like it will be, then in theory that suits James Anderson far more. He typically would have been a favourite at around 2 before the series starts for an innings. He's now out towards 3, and I'd say he's probably the play in the type of conditions that you're going to get.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the top batsman market. Who's your bet for the top England batsman?
Well, the favourite and the key England batsman is the Yorkshireman Joe Root. He's the top scorer for England so far in this series, with over 200 runs, but he's a very short price indeed at around 1.6. The captain, Alistair Cook, who is England's leading run scorer, has to open the batting and face the best of the Australian bowlers, and he's at around 5.5. Now, really, if you look at the strengths of the England team, it should be one of those two that wins the market. Cook is a better price than Root, but probably a less reliable proposition. If you're looking for an outsider, then the second leading run scorer for England so far this series is the number 6 batsman, Ben Stokes, who has around 180 runs, just 30 behind Root. He is a hard-hitting attacking batsman, and if there are early wickets at a price at around 9, then he could be worth a small play. It'll need early wickets for him to come into play, but you're getting a big price compared to the batsmen that come in before him.
Yeah, that's right. Joe Root is the favourite there. 1.6. Alistair Cook is 5.5. 888 Sport and Ben Stokes 9 there with William Hill. So who's your bet then for the top Australian batsman? Because I have to say, Stephen Smith, he is the favourite there, but very low, 1.44. Bet365. Second favourite is Chris Rogers, 3.75. 888 Sport, and then we've got David Warner at 13. William Hill. So who do you have pegged, and will you take that bet?
Well, Smith scored over 250 runs at Lord's, and he's the world's #1 batsman in the rankings. It's no surprise to see him extremely short indeed in the prices, just because he consistently scores big runs. At 1.4, there's very little left in it for bettors, really. Everyone knows the story. Everyone knows that he should score big, but of course he won't do every time. And that's where someone like Rogers, at around 3 times his price, he also scored a big 100 at Lord's. There are some fitness concerns surrounding him. He had to go off having been hit in the head when he was batting at Lord's. But if he plays, he'd be the better price of the two. And Warner at 13, he opens the batting with Rogers. Of the 3 at the price, he would be the value. He tends to bat very aggressively and not quite make the big scores that his talent deserves. But on one of these occasions, he will pretty soon. So of the 3 at the price, whilst you would expect Smith to perform well, Warner is the better value.
Yeah, well, there is more value there to bet the overall top batsman, and then there is now presents a bit of value there for Stephen Smith, 1.68 with 888 Sport, Chris Rogers then 3.75, Bet365, and then Joe Root 8 Labrooks. So, based on those, would you take the favourite there, top batsman at that price?
Well, again, I think the price it's not as attractive as it would have been if you were looking at this particular player even as late as 6 months ago. His form since has been so good that the bookmakers are discounting him doing very well. Of course, in an overall tops batsman market, you have 2 innings, so the variance in this market is greater than just backing the first innings market. And I would have thought it might be quite a low-scoring match in the conditions. The market is obviously expecting Australia to win, which is why the Australian batsman prices are very low as well. Someone like Joe Root at 8, when you're having to take under even money and 3.75 for Rogers, is a better value play, albeit that most people would say that you'd want to be an Australian batsman in this market. So it's really all about your risk profile in terms of backing these players, whether you want to take a short price or something a bit more speculative. I would tend, over the course of a 5-day match, to be taking the more speculative price if you're having to back someone over 2 innings.
And what other markets do you have your eye on?
Well, the main markets that you get in cricket, apart from the winner, are the top batsman and the top bowler markets.
Yeah.
You can get, at some places, double the odds if the player that you pick to be the top scorer makes 100 runs in that innings. And that's worth looking at places like Paddy Power in the UK and Ireland market. Because if you do like, for example, Stephen Smith or Joe Root or whoever, then you might as well go to a place like that and get double odds, because you're going to need 100 runs or more to top score and win this market. So the main sub-markets we've touched on, but there are offers around that give you better odds if you're right in your selection.
And for our viewers here today, do you have like a top tip in mind?
Well, I think my top tip would be the Australian batsman market, where I mentioned the David Warner price. The fact that Stephen Smith is so short has lengthened all the other prices. And in a one-off innings, in a game on any particular day, Warner is more than capable at a big price compared to Rogers and Smith of top scoring in this game.
Okay, wonderful. Richard Prew, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.